Welcome back all to the session on Ansible inventory. We can't keep doing the same thing continuously. In the last session, I had shown you, I had listed all the clients in command line with the Ansible command. Of course, if there are only one or two clients to be configured, we can do it this way. But if there are many clients and dynamically, if you keep changing the clients, then we can't keep doing the same thing all the time. So let me just come back to this command and let me just simplify that. So let me just go to this command, and then instead of having so many clients, let me just reduce it only to the local host and try to show you a few things. So this was the command with which we started in our previous session, and there are few components associated with that. And of course, we know that this is pushing the ping module. This is specifying that connection type is local. We will come back to these things later. Let's now concentrate on why I need to specify this. Can't I do something little better than this? Yeah, we can. What we can do is we can simply specify a inventory file for ourselves, not the DNS server that I mentioned before, like etc host. This is actually associated with the machine. Okay, so we'll not go into this. Let it there. What I'll going to do now is I'll now going to create a folder. Let me call this as Ansilab. So here is that folder Ansilab. Now let me just get into this particular folder. As of now, there is nothing in the folder. So here I'll going to create a inventory file for myself. I can give any name for that, but for the sake of convenience and for the sake of similar terminologies elsewhere, I'll going to call this as host. I'll specify a file name as host, and here I will going to specify a group called as local. I can give any name to this group. Note that this group need to be specified within the square brackets, and I specify this server name here, localhost. You can find that file here, and this is the path for that file name. So what I'll now going to do is I'll go back to my previous command. Now instead of specifying the list of servers here in the command line, instead of that, I'll going to specify path. I'll take this path. I'll specify that path here. And at the end of the path, I'll specify the file name slash host. And you know already what is there inside that file. And here you can see the same result. That host, it's specifying the local group as well as the local server name called as host. Now, as I did in the last session, so similarly, can we try doing some more adventures here? Can I add the other clients too into that? Let's see how I can do that. Let me come back here to host. Okay, so here I'll going to create some more groups. So I'll call it as a remote because these are the remote servers. And let me list out these servers here. Okay. However, here we need to specify it with certain specific way. I can't simply specify it like this because there is a syntax associated with the inventory. Anyway, let me just try doing the adventure and let's see what will going to be the impact of that. I'm returning back to the same command and I'm just trying out, and I can see here it is giving certain warnings and it is not showing any results at all. Okay. But instead of specifying here as all, let me just try out a few things. Like, say, for example, instead of this, let me just show you. Here, you know that I have created two groups. So let me use those group name here. I'll simply specify it as say local. And here you can see that it is showing the warning for the remaining things, and at the same time it is showing it for the local host. We just try out the same thing with the remote, and let's see what warning it will going to throw. No, it is not showing even that local host, but you can see something that is different here that's happening. That for the remote, it is showing the warning, whereas for the local host, for the local group, when I use the local group, it was indeed it was throwing certain warnings, but at the end of it, it is showing it at least for the local host. Let's see how best we can modify the inventory file so that we can get that desired results. I just made a small change to it. If you see host, only thing is I had made it as host equal to, instead of simply specifying the IP address like I did before, I just added this host equal to, because this is basically considered as, if you observe before the warning, it was in the warning it was saying that it was unable to parse this particular file because this file is supposed to be in a proper syntax. Let me just try out now what is going to happen. Let me just see with the remote, same thing, and you can see the desired results are coming. It could be able to ping all the four modules, client 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be able to ping all of them. But of course, you don't see any local host here. And if I use it with local, if I use it with local, you see only the local host. That's basically because if you see here, there are two groups. Local is a group having only one server, that is a local server. And you see that local server here, which is pushed with ping module, and we are getting a pong response. Whereas the remote is having four different servers, and it is pushing ping module only to those four servers. What if you use now all, which I was using before? Let me just try out with that. And now we can see not just those remote clients, along with the remote clients, you also see local host. So what does this signifies? Whether using here all, or like I did here using only local, or using only remote here, this basically indicates the corresponding group names. It is pushing that ping module only to this only, and to all the servers under the local group. There is only one, and here there are four servers under the remote group. So it is pushing the ping module to all the four servers under the remote group. But of course, this still requires us to specify this path. So can we specify it somewhere else? Yes, we can. We will try with that. You can see as of now, I'm inside this Ansible folder, and here I just have only one file, host, that host. You can see this content, and this is available in this particular path. So now I'll going to create one more file known as ansible.cfg. This is again a standard name, and the same name is supposed to be used because every time I use the ansible command, it invariably parse for a ansible.cfg, a configuration file available locally. So let me just go ahead creating. I'm already having its content in the clipboard, and so here is the content. Here is that content. I'm specifying defaults, which is part of the syntax. Inventory equal to, I'm specifying the path. And if you look at this path, it is exactly, let me just come out of this. So it's exactly at ansible.cfg. So whatever is the path of this particular folder, Ansible folder, where I do have these files, host, the local inventory file, and the configuration file, ansible.cfg. So whatever is shown here, okay, these are available under the folder Ansible, And path to that Ancilla folder, I'm specifying it as this is where the inventory is available by default. So the advantage here is if I now go back to my command, I will completely eliminate this part. I don't even specify where the inventory is available. For simplicity's sake, let me just use here local, and you can see it works. How it works? It's basically because whenever I use this Ansible command, by default, it looks out for any Ansible.configuration file here in the local folder, in that particular folder, not even in the parent folder. Because if I try using the same thing, if I just go back here, let me just show you. Instead of using local, let me just deliberately use here remote. You see, it is throwing a warning. It's not working because there is no Ansible.configuration file. This file doesn't exist locally. Similarly, if I go into this folder and if I create here a, another subfolder and let me get into this folder, this is currently blank. It doesn't have anything. It's currently blank. And if I try to execute the same command here, still it doesn't work. It's only here in this folder where I do have the configuration file, not necessarily the inventory file, because the configuration file specifies the path for where the I'm sorry, where the inventory file is located. Of course, one thing I need to specify, I forgot to do that. It's necessary, though it is taking it. It is necessary that you need to specify here where the inventory file is located. Since the default name is host, so it is taking it automatically. So ansible.cfg. So here I'm specifying the path of the inventory file. So the presence of configuration file is more than enough. So if you try doing the same command here, you can see that it is working. Yeah, could able to do it just because whenever I use this Ansible command, whenever I use the Ansible command, it looks out for a configuration file available locally, and that configuration file should be pointing to a file where the inventory is located. Means inventory is basically the list of servers to be configured. List of servers. This is for the local. These are the servers to be configured. Since we are specifying the name as well as the IP address, now this which I used before, etc host, this becomes irrelevant. Now whether this file exists, this has the contents or not, it doesn't matter, because here we are specifying a server name. This server name can be different, it can be anything, and we are also specifying the IP address. So now this will serve, this inventory file will take care of the inventory. That's a list of servers to be configured. We will go ahead doing more experiments with this. Thank you.